absolutely incredible and crazy that it's 100 days to go, so exciting. I suppose the next 100 days are going to be just really focused. We are doing a lot more heat prep. We are hopefully going to be starting to do a few more races and just start to feel race ready, because it's been quite a while without that, so really need to blow out the cobwebs and get that race fitness back.
I guess it's a really exciting time with 100 days to go. The Tokyo plans have been put in place for a number of years now, and planning started really 4 or 5, if not more years ago. So this is really the time to focus in on what individuals are going to do, what the actual environment will be like when we're there, and just really kind of confirming the final plans. I think all the work we've done in the last few years has put us in a really good position, even though we've had an unprecedented year with everyone across the world has. Our athletes have still been able to maintain their health, maintain some kind of training, and actually use the experience we've had to then prepare as best as possible as we can for the summer.
It's a completely different situation. Obviously every Games is individual, every Games is unique, and it all brings something that's very special to each one. So I think Tokyo, even though it will be very different to what we probably ever imagined, I think it will be really, really special and a great way for the world to celebrate.
As part of Project Theta, we've been able to connect with all of the sports to understand their plans, understand their risks. We then work very specifically with around 8 to 10 sports on individual athlete plans related to being in those Tokyo conditions, and part of the work has actually been sharing experience across sport, sharing experience across athletes. And with Ben Stevenson in his role as British Triathalon, but also working on Project Theta, he's really been the fulcrum of understanding what athletes are doing in their preparation, and really what kind of leading the way in the world on developing this science.
So Project Theta, it's a interdisciplinary project, so it's not just a physiology project. We have nutrition, we have performance innovation, we've got some of the medical services as well. So we're not just looking as to how we might get an extra few percent in performance, because there is a real health risk involved when we're looking at Paralympic athletes in the heat. So that's why a lot of resources being put behind the project, and why we are trying to get a broad scope and broad view as to how we can support sports. The main measures we're looking at are body temperature. We can take core temperature through a gastrointestinal pill. So she swallowed that last night, and we can measure her internal body temperature wirelessly. We can also measure her skin temperature. So we had 4 different sites for skin temperature measurement, but also classical markers such as her heart rate, so how that's changing over acclimation blocks, but also things like sweat rate and perceptually as well.
So it's a really effective position to be in, actually, because from an English Institute of Sport perspective, we've worked around all of the sports individuals' plans moving into Tokyo, so that's heat and humidity, jet lag. And then from a British Paralympic Association and Paralympics GB, what we're doing is helping the sports really to deliver those plans in the Tokyo Games environment. So it's actually really helped to be part of the planning stage early on, and then actually with the delivery stage with the practitioners on the ground in Tokyo.
So in Tokyo, we're expecting, at least in triathlon when we're racing in the morning, temperatures close to about 30 degrees, potentially a little bit higher on some of the hotter days, but the humidity is going to be high. That's going to be the key standout for Tokyo, is the high humidity. So we're expecting potentially up to 80% humidity. So with Claire today, she was in the heat chamber and we're going through a heat tolerance test. So we call it a beat the heat test. And really for us, it's to benchmark how she's adapting to the heat. So today it was just a bit of a baseline. She hasn't been in the heat for a while, but whenever we do blocks of heat acclimation work and we're in the chamber for a few weeks on end, we can repeat the test and see how perceptually but also physiologically she's adapted to the heat.
The heat chamber is basically, the easiest way to describe it is like a tiny little room or a box, which makes it sound even more horrible than it is. And the temperature gets cracked up to 32 degrees and about 7% humidity. And you just basically have to try and get your core as elevated as possible to prepare yourself for the heat that we're going to feel come Tokyo. So it's being very aware of that environment and how harsh it is, and just preparing for that as well as you possibly can. We're really lucky to have a very forward-thinking team who are always looking at new innovations and how we can be the best prepared team out there.